In this video, we will be performing a battery replacement and system recovery in the Haas TM1P vertical mill. Upon initial startup, we notice that there is a low battery voltage indicator in the bottom left-hand corner of the display screen. Additionally, the system will not load past the Haas main screen, which does not allow us to get into the control panel at all. Furthermore, you can hear a continuous beeping telling us that something is wrong. On these particular machines, if you do have your battery go dead, you lose everything if you don't have a backup. At the back of the machine, we have a power control panel. This is where we will be working at to do our battery replacement. Inside of our system, we need to focus on the top left portion of our controls. If we remove our cover, we will gain access to our circuit board that contains the battery. The battery is located in the top right corner of our circuit board on this particular model of machine. The existing battery is a Varta 3-volt lithium battery, which I will be replacing with a Streamlight CR123A 3-volt lithium replacement battery. Located at the bottom right-hand corner of our existing battery, we have a jumper that we can hook up a temporary battery to help retain the memory inside of the machine while we're performing this service, because the battery is what holds on to all the information. If we were to disconnect the battery, we would lose all the information. I purchased this programmable logic controller battery for CNC machines. It is identified as Panasonic 32-1010 as the battery code. I purchased this from Battery Specialists for about $15. If we plug in our temporary battery to our jumper and then turn on our system, you will notice that there is no longer a low battery voltage indicator at the bottom of the control screen. If we cycle the machine off and then turn it on again, we will be able to get past that Haas intro screen. But as you can see, there is a plethora of various errors and it just doesn't look right, and basically everything's messed up. Because we have lost all of our battery power at some point, it has virtually wiped out the entire control panel system and everything that has been stored in the memory. Now, technically, because we no longer have a low battery voltage issue, we could go ahead and reload our system and we would have fixed the problem, because we now have a battery supplying the backup power to retain the memory. So technically, if your system has not completely lost all of the battery power and the memory, you could use this as a fix, and down the road, if you got another low battery voltage indicator, you could just swap out the temporary battery with a new temporary battery. However, since we have lost everything, we're going to go ahead and replace the existing onboard battery. If you have not completely lost all of the battery power and you are just getting the low battery warning error code, make sure you plug in a temporary battery throughout the duration of this repair so that you do not lose all of the memory in your system. Prior to starting any work, you'll want to make sure that you eliminate any possibility of giving the circuit board an electric shock. Using diagonal cutters, I'm going to cut the zip tie that is going around the battery. Next, I'm going to loosen the 4 hold down screws that are holding the circuit board to the panel. and then remove those posts. Additionally, there is one Phillips head screw located in the center of the circuit board. Next, we are able to gently pull our circuit board back. Our objective is to gain access to the back of the board, so I'm going to gently remove several of the wiring harnesses so we can turn the board without pulling on the cables. It is always a good idea to take a picture before you do this so that you are sure you are plugging those back in to the correct location at the end. On the back side of our board, we want to bring our attention to the top left corner, because if you remember, the battery is on the top right corner on the reverse side of the board. We are looking for the 3 battery leads that go through the board and are soldered on to the board. Using a soldering iron and some desoldering wick, we're going to remove the solder from the back side of the battery. Once we have removed the majority of the solder, we can heat up each of the leads and gently work the battery loose from the front side of the board. And then come back with the desoldering wick again to clean up any additional solder that is left on there. When finished, we should have 3 visibly clear holes going through the circuit board where the battery posts were from the previous battery. Now, we could replace our old battery with a new battery that is soldered in. You could do that at this point. However, those batteries are difficult to service, as you can see from what we're doing right now. Instead, I'm going to be replacing it with a battery holder and a traditional looking battery, which will be a CR123A 3-volt lithium battery. This way, if we need to replace the battery anytime in the future, we can just pop out the old battery, put in a new battery. One of the differences that you'll notice, aside from the obvious, is that there are 3 leads on the soldered in battery, but only 2 leads on the battery holder. If we look at the back of our circuit board, we can see the 3 leads where the battery came out of. However, there is also a couple extra options for us that we can take a look at. On the front side of our board, we can see again the original 3 solder points, but we can also see those 2 additional solder points to accommodate additional options. And if we place our battery holder up in the location where it's going to go, you can see that that should turn out very nice. On the front side of the board, we will need to press the battery holder in place so that on the back side of the board we can add a little bit of solder. Next, we can gently replace the board and reinstall our wiring harnesses. We can reinstall our Phillips head screw in the center of the board to help hold that down. And then replace our 4 posts. Next comes our new battery. And now that our new battery is hooked up, we can remove our temporary battery, replace our cover plate, and close up our machine. If your repair only required you to replace the battery, at this point you should be done. And you can fire up your machine, and it should have retained all of the memory and settings and programs that you had previously programmed into the machine. However, if your machine has had a total battery power loss, as this machine, there are some additional steps that we need to go through. So let's go ahead and fire up the machine. You'll notice there is no low battery voltage indicator in the bottom left-hand corner, so our battery replacement was successful. We do have a bunch of errors that come up again, so we need to address those errors. The first error that we're going to work with is the program data error, which basically comes up because we have lost all of the program information for our machine, and it thinks there may be a corrupt file or something's not right. So we need to load all of our program data back into the machine. I keep my recovery information USB in the back panel of the machine. This is what mine looks like. Yours may be a little bit different. This USB drive comes with the machine and houses all of the basic settings from the first install from the factory. The first thing you need to do to restore the system is insert the USB memory device, which has those backup files on it. Next, we're going to press List Programs and select the USB device tab. I'm going to press Right Enter to open that, and we can see a list of everything located on that USB device. On this particular USB device, it is on the root directory of the device. You can see the files first install .var.set.ofs. All of the various settings are on there. After that, we need to press the emergency stop button. We're going to then press F4, which brings up a menu of various things that we can do as far as loading these files into the system. I'm going to select Load All -Restore, and I need to tell it what to load. So I'm going to type in First Install. Once I've typed in First Install, I'm going to press the Right Enter button, and that will load all of these system files and system settings into the memory. The next thing I'm going to do is power off the machine and then power it back on. I've cycled the system off and then back on, and when it loaded, I still have a few errors. The error that we're going to work with now is error 475, clock not set. To correct this error, we're going to press the Current Commands button. Then we'll press Page Down, which will bring us to the clock. To set the current date, I'm going to enter in 08, because it is August the 8th month, -15, because it is the 15th of the month, -2015, because it is 2015, and press Right Enter. And you can see the date changed in the system. Next is the time that we're going to set. So I'm going to push 0, 9, and then to make the colon, I'm going to press Shift 9, and then 1, 8, because it's 9:18 in the morning. Right, enter, and we have the clock set on our system. Next, I'm going to cycle our system again, turning it off, waiting just a couple seconds, turning it back on. And now we have just a couple different error codes, and these are the typical error codes that you see at startup. So here it says the emergency stop button was pressed, so we'll go ahead and release that. The system wants us to cycle the door. We'll press reset to enable the servos. And now it asks us to run through a power-up restart cycle to get the system going. The next thing that I'm going to do is run the warm-up cycle, just to verify that everything seems to be working properly. That warm-up cycle is already in the memory. I'll press cycle start, and it is telling me my machine is cold and needs to be warmed up, which is what we're doing. So we'll press cancel, cycle start, and we'll let that warm-up cycle run its course, and then we'll take a look at what additional things we need to do. Now, if you remember, we went through and loaded the system restore files from when it was first installed in the factory. So if we press our offset button and take a look at our settings, we have no tool offsets, we have nothing programmed in there. Because this particular system did have previous settings, and those were backed up to a USB, we want to load the previous system settings into the machine so we don't have to go through and redo all of those tools and offsets. Additionally, if we take a look at our work offsets, there's nothing there. We want to load everything from the previous settings into the machine. To do this, we're going to replace the system restore USB with our backup USB that we have made prior to this issue happening with this machine. So it's always good that we did have a backup. We're going to load those in. Following the exact same procedures that we did previously, I'm going to list programs, navigate to my USB device, press the emergency stop. We'll open up our USB, and we can see I have a file named Haas Backup with all of those backup files. I'm going to press F4. We're going to select Load All or Restore. We're following the same procedures, just with our settings and our files. I'm going to type in Haas Backup, because that's what I named it, and then write enter. That's going to load all of our settings, our work offsets, our tools into the system. Once that's done, I'm going to again cycle the machine off and then back on. And again, I'm looking for any additional errors that may pop up or anything else that might be unusual. Once it's loaded, we'll release the emergency stop, cycle the door, reset, power up restart, and I can already see that my work offsets are in the machine. If we press offset and take a look at our tool offsets, those are also loaded into the machine. Work offsets, they're looking good also. At this point, we have replaced the battery, we have restored our machine, and we have loaded all of our previous information into the computer. The last thing we're going to take a look at is this maintenance due indicator. Now, we're performing all of the maintenance on this machine today. Not everything is covered in this video, but we want to reset that so that doesn't show up anymore. To do that, we're going to press Current Commands. We're going to press Page Down and cycle through until we see our Maintenance tab. And you can see there are various maintenance tasks that need to be done. Because we're performing all of the maintenance on this, we're going to take care of all of these and reset the timer so that it knows that the maintenance has been completed. Pressing the origin one time will allow you to deactivate the monitoring of that particular system. Pressing it a second time will restart the maintenance cycle countdown. So we can go through here and reset all of these, since we are going through today and performing all of these maintenance tasks. Lastly, we will once again cycle the machine off and then back on, and we're looking for any additional errors. We're also looking to see if that maintenance due indicator has been removed. And again, just checking to make sure that everything looks like it is in good working condition and nothing is unusual. After cycling the machine off and then back on, we're still getting the maintenance due indicator. So we need to take a little bit closer look at why that is coming up. If we push the settings button and navigate to our maintenance tab, we can see all of the various maintenance settings that the system has activated. If there's a 0 next to it, it's not activated. If there is a number by it, that is your countdown. Each one that has a 0 next to it, I'm going to type in 10, enter. Go to the next one, 10, enter. And this should activate it in our Current Commands maintenance settings. So now if I go into my Current Commands and I have my maintenance list, I can see that there are several values in the negative, which means that the time has expired for the maintenance. So let's go ahead and reset these. And then we're going to jump back to our settings menu, and all of these that had 10, let's go ahead and remove those. We'll set those to 0. Jump back to our Current Commands maintenance. We're back to just our key settings for this particular machine. We can see at the bottom our maintenance due has gone away. Let's go ahead and cycle off and back on one last time. We'll cycle the door, reset our machine, and everything is looking good. Now that we have cycled on our machine and went through our startup processes, everything looks great. I think we have successfully completed this repair.